What's going on, guys? How you doing? It's Jamie here. Thanks very much for joining me in today's video. I'm just going to be covering why having a group or community or Facebook group in this instance is such a powerful way to build rapid credibility within your audience and how you can monetize that in a pretty simplistic way. So I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes, see if anyone jumps on. If you do happen to jump on, smash that heart button, drop a comment, hashtag live if you're on the live, hashtag replay if you do happen to catch the replay. And of course, if you're on the YouTube channel, thank you for joining me. Feel free to hit the subscribe button if you're interested in learning more about affiliate marketing from a no BS fundamental basis, kind of what I cover and what I have been covering for quite some time. Anyway, see who jumps on. What's happening, folks? A couple of people. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a good day. Groovy. Alrighty. Let's give it a couple of minutes. Is everyone working on this week? Hopefully smashing it. Cool. All right, so why is having a group or a community of some kind so unbelievably powerful for building credibility within your own audience and furthermore being able to monetize that as opposed to traditional marketing mediums such as, for example, just email or just having your Facebook profile or just a fan page, for example, or just a YouTube channel for that matter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a very, very well-constructed graphic that I put together. It's taken me nearly a decade to complete. Just kidding, knocked it out on Canva a little while ago. It's actually part of a presentation that I did a little while ago, which covers, well, the inner workings of my business, actually. But anyway, let me share that. Oh, for crying out loud. Damn it, Gary. Hello, Jacob. Lovely to see you here. Just going to show that on my screen. You muffin. Oh, brilliant. And when I'm live too, and I've got the fucking giggles. God damn it. All right. I'm just going to show my screen now. Whew. All right. Anyway, I need to catch my composure. It's not even that funny. Bloody hell. All right. So, look, many moons ago, back in the late 40s, the producers in Hollywood had this theory, and it was called the Rule of Seven. Basically, what they meant was they believed that someone would need to see an advertisement for a movie 7 times before they'd actually be willing to go and see that film. And so advertising boffins then kind of captured that in direct response advertisers specifically, and they called it the Rule of Seven, which basically meant that their theory was someone would have to see an ad about 7 times before they're actually willing to take some form of action on that ad. It's not always the case. There are instances where people only need to see it once and it captures their attention enough to actually take some form of action. But I guess in this instance, what we're referring to specifically is a purchasing decision. With the social media being what it is today, getting absolutely bombarded with colors and lights and shapes and all that sort of stuff that's making our endorphins just go absolutely bananas all the time. I suspect that rule is probably more like 10 to 15 these days as opposed to just 7. So where am I going with all this? Well, this, like I say, incredible graphic that I've spent many years developing, blood, sweat and tears has gone into this, basically represents your group. And if you have a group, what that means is you can pretty much rapid fire that rule of 7. So I'm just going to explain a couple of things here. The kind of inward-looking, funny triangle thing, basically, if you think of that as your group, and so at the top there, we've got P for profile. Like I say, I'm not much of an artist, clearly. However, you have to forgive me. Hopefully, it's going to make a bit more sense once I explain it. So got profile at the top. What that basically means is that is effectively one touch point for your audience. So regardless of whether you're putting out, I guess, content related to your lifestyle or credibility boosters or authority builders, things like that, that is actually one touch point for your audience. And so if you imagine that little arrow that's going to the dollar figure, which if we imagine that's say a sale at the being the goal, of course. What that effectively means is that people, if you're going from your profile over to the sale, there's actually quite a few parts that need to come into play for that. You need to build rapport of some kind. They need to, I guess, get involved in your universe, however that looks. They need to transition to some sort of sales related or business related conversation, need to break down all sorts of mental barriers, and eventually they need to transact, basically believing that you can help them out, right? So that's normally how it goes. Now, what I will say before I go any further is that people can and have and still do make a ton of cash purely just operating from their profile and selling low and high ticket products, right? So don't think I'm dismissing just operating from your profile, and don't feel for a moment that you have to start a group just because I'm telling you all this stuff, right? I'm just giving a bit of an explainer as to why it's very beneficial as part of your overall online sort of ecosphere type thing. So that's a normal process. So now if we change that slightly, and instead of going, cool, I'm going to try and get someone to buy the thing on the other side, you basically, the first part of your sales process actually gets them into your community. And so therefore, now we've got the little magic P over here, whatever the fuck that means. Magic P for profile. So that's the first part of your overall sales component, sales strategy. So therefore, in the group, what that means is then when people are seeing content that's related to anything, I guess, like I say, credibility boosters or breaking down limiting beliefs, building your authority, showing a bit of your lifestyle, build up the know, like, and trust factor, all that sort of stuff. And then your student results and all that sort of stuff as well. What that's going to effectively do is when you're making call to actions, instead of you trying to sell to everyone, you're actually only selling to the people that, metaphorically at least, raise their hands, okay? Meaning that, of course, it's a lot easier to sell to those people. And this, although it's very hard to see, especially on this particular screen, I wonder what happens if I do that. I'm like, oh my God, it's way better. Maybe not for you guys, but for me. Anyway, so that has all the people that are metaphorically raising their hands going, yep, I'm at least open to the idea of getting some form of information about what it is that you are promoting. Hence why if you're doing call to actions, because they've had a chance to see your content, to get the social proof based on other people validating you, on your student successes, on people dropping comments, on showing up to your lives, on whatever it is, right? That's those are the people that are going to be a lot easier to sell to. So circling back to the rule of 7, we've got this. It's not even an acronym. It doesn't really stand for anything. It's just GSMP. Like I say, I do all my own graphic design work. So what this now means is that you've got your group. And this is purely just on Facebook. Forget the fact that you can also have an email list, you can have a chatbot list, you can have YouTube, you can have whatever other medium that you've got of traffic generation. You can actually send back here to do this exact same thing that I'm talking about. So you've got your group, you've got stories, which is super powerful, by the way. You've got Messenger, so you can actually reach out to people and communicate that way. And of course, you've got profiles. So now you've got, just on Facebook alone, you've got 4 different ways that you can actually meet your audience and be there for your audience and display content to your audience, meaning that that whole rule of 7 can be kind of like rapid fired a little bit, if that makes sense. So that is why groups are amazingly powerful. So what I will say is the caveat on all this one is only set up a group if you have the time and inclination and creative mojo, I guess, in order to actually develop content secondary to your profile. So don't overwhelm yourself. If it's something that you don't feel you're going to be able to devote a lot of attention to at this stage, don't overwhelm yourself. Although I would encourage you to set something up just because it is a very powerful resource. And it's one of those things that, it is your little pocket of the world. It's kind of cool. You start to develop this thing and, you get better at content creation, you get better at your sales stuff, and you get better at building out funnels, all sorts of things. And your audience, for a lot of them, get to see that entire growth phase as well. And purely just from being there and being as consistent as you can be, you start to build that credibility within them as well. So anyway, that, in my opinion, is why having a group is massively powerful. You're looking for the metaphorical hand raisers from your audience, and it's a lot easier to do if you do have a community where you can pull those people out from. What I will say is, sure, I've covered Facebook here. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other communities out there in the interworld, internet, and you can probably replicate a lot of what I'm talking here in those other places as well. So see what we got here. Oh gosh, nice work! Congratulations. Well done. Any questions on that at all? What I will say is the initial stages of your group, it can feel a little bit tricky at times because you don't always know if you're actually gaining traction, and that initial stage can be a little bit tricky to kind of get over. However, I would encourage everyone just to keep pushing through with it. Quite literally, my group is 3,600 people or something like that. I've been building it for a few years now, and I probably decline more people than I let into the group as well. So probably could have been a lot bigger. Just made that choice in order to keep the numbers, quality over quantity type stuff. How active should I be? It's a really good question. So what I would encourage you to do on that one is I try to, sorry, live next to the motorway, truck went past. So what I try to do is produce content in my group every day, if I can. You do have the amazing ability to be able to schedule your content as well. So if you sit down over the weekend, you can actually schedule out, I think it's 12 posts, if I'm not mistaken. So if you have the time and inclination to do so, then that can obviously help in terms of getting that engagement. Realistically though, a group, and this is kind of social media in general terms anyway, but a group specifically is going to be, I guess you're going to get more traction if you can get the audience to communicate with each other. So if they're putting out content and they're dropping a bunch of comments everywhere and they're putting up their own posts and everyone's like communicating, asking questions, things like that, that's going to be what will grow your community as well. So if you can rely more on your community putting that content up, which is kind of cool if you can get it to that point, although it's like pushing string uphill sometimes, to be honest. If you're able to do that, then it is very powerful as a mechanism to grow your community, and meaning that it takes that pressure off yourself in order to have to supply that content all the time. And like I say, that's kind of what the premise of social media is that they provide this platform and then they go, go fill your boots, fill it up with content, peeps, where you go. And so that's kind of what people do, right? We all fill up the internet with content, self-directed content, which is kind of cool. Like I say, the sort of the big caveat on that one is only if you've got the creative energy for it as well. Like if you're putting up regular content on your profile and then you're coming into your group and you're trying to trying to double up all that sort of stuff, that's completely cool. What I would also say is don't be afraid to recycle content as well. So if you get to this point where you're thinking, my brain's not working today and I can't think of anything new to say, what you can do is just go back through your timeline, and we're all like goldfish online, to be honest, and so therefore we're going to forget things that have happened a week and a half ago when it comes to content specifically. So you recycle the same piece of content or a slightly nuanced piece of content, different image, for example, things like that, from your profile over to your group and vice versa. If you can, what I'd probably encourage you to do is try and elevate the value of the content that you have in your group versus your profile. That way it incentivizes people to jump in there. For me, for example, I don't go live on my profile. I have tried that before, but this is kind of like my little sanctuary in my group. So this is where I do all my live training, things like that. I also schedule trainings from time to time, things like that. Obviously, I don't do that on my profile. So there is that sort of differentiator between my profile stuff and, of course, the group stuff as well. Hopefully that makes sense. Greetings from Sydney. How you doing? You guys are in lockdown as well. Been a bit of a strange time, isn't it? I'm based in Melbourne, and it's it's like the perennial lockdown here. All right, I might bounce. Thank you, one and all, for tuning in. Sorry about my giggling fit at the start of this. Very unprofessional, but that's just me in general. Very unprofessional. All right, folks, have a good one. Thanks very much for joining me. I'll catch you in the next one.